Please help me! Please help me!
Police released footage that changed everything. The Hillsboro kidnapping case captured on a doorbell camera shows exactly what happens when a woman desperately needs help and no one hears her. Investigators detected 18 seconds of crystal clear footage that documented an active kidnapping in progress on a residential street. Right now, that video has been viewed millions of times across social media platforms. The woman rang a stranger's doorbell at 10:48 p.m. on a Sunday night in April 2024. She was screaming for help. The family inside didn't hear her. Their TV was on, volume at normal levels. The doorbell rang twice, no one came, and then he appeared, a man running from behind. He grabbed her, he carried her away. She screamed, "Please help me," twice, loud enough to wake neighbors. But no one responded. The entire abduction took 18 seconds from the moment she arrived at that door until she disappeared from frame. Security cameras are everywhere in America. Ring doorbells, Blink cameras, Nest systems. We install them for package thieves and porch pirates. But this camera captured something far more serious. Here's what should terrify you. Without that doorbell camera recording and uploading to cloud storage automatically, this woman would have vanished without a trace. No witnesses, no evidence, no proof it even happened. Think about that. Before we break down every second of this footage and how it led to an arrest within 36 hours, if you want to stay updated on real cases where technology makes the difference between solved and unsolved, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what we're about to show you proves why home security cameras are no longer optional. And drop a comment telling us, would you have heard her if you were inside that house? Hillsboro, Oregon, population 107,000, a suburb 30 minutes west of Portland. Residential neighborhoods, middle-class families, tree-lined streets. According to FBI crime statistics from 2023, Hillsboro had a violent crime rate of 1.8 per thousand residents. That's 40% below the national average. It's the kind of place where people feel safe, where doors stay unlocked, where kids ride bikes after dark, where violent crime is something you see on the news about other cities, not your street, not your neighborhood. Until April 21st, 2024, a Sunday night, spring weather, families at home, TVs on, normal evening. And then, at 10:48 p.m., a woman ran up to a house on Southeast 32nd Avenue near East Main Street. She was terrified. She rang the doorbell. She knocked on the door. She begged for help. The family inside had no idea, but their Blink doorbell camera was recording. Let's talk about what actually happened in those 18 seconds. The timestamp shows 10:48:03 p.m. when motion detection activates the camera. A woman appears in frame from the right side. She's approximately 25 to 30 years old based on appearance. Dark clothing, no jacket despite cool April temperatures, no shoes visible, hair disheveled. She's moving fast, not jogging, running. She reaches the front door. She immediately presses the doorbell. Standard ring or blink chime plays inside the house. She doesn't wait. She presses it again. 2 seconds later, she starts knocking, both hands, hard enough that the sound should be audible throughout a standard residential home. She looks behind her, once, twice, 3 times in the first 8 seconds. Body language shows panic. Her shoulders are raised, her movements are jerky. She's looking for someone, or looking to see if someone is following her. Then she screams. The audio captures it clearly. "Please help me." Volume is high, desperation in her voice. She knocks harder. And then at 10:48:14 p.m., exactly 11 seconds after she arrived at the door, a man enters the frame. He comes from the left side, running, not jogging, full sprint. He's approximately 6 feet tall, wearing dark pants, dark hoodie, beard visible. His face is partially visible for less than 1 second when he turns his head toward the camera. He covers the distance to her in less than 2 seconds. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't hesitate. He grabs her with both arms. She struggles. Her hands reach for the door. She tries to hold on. She screams again, louder this time. "Please help me! Please help me!" The audio analysis would later measure this at approximately 90 to 95 decibels. That's as loud as a motorcycle engine at 25 feet. That's loud enough to be heard clearly through windows and walls under normal conditions. He lifts her. Her feet leave the ground. She's still trying to grab the doorframe. He pulls her away. Her body goes off balance. He's stronger. He's controlling her movement. They move toward the left side of the frame, out of the camera's field of view. At 10:48:21 p.m., they disappear completely. Total elapsed time from her arrival to disappearance, 18 seconds. The camera continues recording for another 5 seconds, showing an empty porch. Then motion detection ends and recording stops. Everything uploaded automatically to cloud storage. Time-stamped, preserved, waiting to be discovered. But here's the problem. Nobody inside the house knew any of this was happening. The homeowner's name is Marisol. She asked media to only use her first name for safety reasons. She lives there with her mother. Sunday night, normal evening. They were watching TV in the living room, volume set to a normal level. Not excessively loud, just regular TV watching. The doorbell rang. They didn't hear it. The woman knocked on the door. They didn't hear that either. The woman screamed twice, at 90 plus decibels. They didn't hear that. But Marisol's mother did hear something. Around 10:50 p.m., approximately 2 minutes after the incident, she heard knocking. Not the original knocking, different knocking. Possibly a neighbor, or someone else. She got up, she went to the door, she opened it. Nobody was there. She looked around. Empty street, no cars, no people, nothing unusual. She closed the door. She went back inside. She told Marisol about it. They thought maybe kids playing pranks, maybe a delivery driver at the wrong house. They didn't check the doorbell camera footage that night. Why would they? Nothing seemed wrong. Monday morning, April 22nd, Marisol woke up around 7:30 a.m. Normal morning routine. She checked her phone. She opened the Blink app. The app shows motion notifications from the past 24 hours. She saw a notification from 10:48 p.m. the previous night. Front door motion detected. She almost ignored it. Probably a cat, maybe a delivery. But something made her click it. Maybe curiosity, maybe instinct. She opened the video. She watched 18 seconds that changed everything. She saw the woman. She saw the panic. She heard the screams. She saw the man. She saw the abduction. She watched it happen on her own front porch, right outside her door. While she was inside watching TV, she called her mother. They watched it again. They couldn't believe it. This happened at their house, on their property, to a complete stranger seeking help, and they had no idea. Marisol called 911, timestamp 7:47 a.m. She told the dispatcher what she found. She sent the video file. Within minutes, multiple units from Hillsboro Police Department were dispatched to her residence. Officers arrived at 7:52 a.m., 5 minutes after the call. They took statements from Marisol and her mother. Neither woman recognized the victim or the suspect in the video. They had never seen either person before. The suspect and victim were not neighbors, not acquaintances, complete strangers to the homeowners. Officers secured the video file as evidence. They noted that the video showed clear signs of a kidnapping in progress. The woman was clearly asking for help. The man forcibly removed her from the property against her will. She was heard screaming for assistance. This met every legal definition of kidnapping under Oregon law. At 8:03 a.m., the video was transferred to the Hillsboro Police Department Criminal Investigation Unit. Priority classification, immediate. A team of investigators was assembled. Detective Sergeant took lead on the case. First action: identify the victim and suspect. The video showed both faces clearly enough for identification. But who were they? Investigators ran the images through facial recognition databases, local missing persons reports, regional criminal databases, DMV records. Nothing immediately matched. The woman hadn't been reported missing. No active missing persons cases in the Portland metro area matching her description. No 911 calls about a woman in distress in that neighborhood that night. She was a ghost. As far as official records showed, she didn't exist. The suspect also returned no immediate matches in criminal databases. His face was partially visible in the footage, enough to see general features, beard, approximate age, but not enough for high-confidence facial recognition match. Investigators had a different strategy. They decided to release the footage publicly. Monday afternoon, April 22nd, Hillsboro Police Department posted images from the doorbell camera on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, department website. The post was clear: we need help identifying these individuals. Possible kidnapping. Anyone with information should contact police immediately. Case number provided. Tip line established. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The images went viral within hours. Local Portland news stations picked it up. KGW, the NBC affiliate, obtained the actual video footage and aired it. Other stations followed. By Monday evening, the video was trending on Twitter. Reddit threads analyzed every frame. Facebook community groups shared it thousands of times. National news outlets picked it up. NBC News, ABC News, Fox affiliates across the country. By Tuesday morning, millions of people had seen the footage. And critically, people who knew the victim and suspect saw it too. Tips started flooding in. The Hillsboro Police Department received dozens of calls. People recognized the woman. People recognized the man. Names were provided, addresses, background information. Investigators cross-referenced the tips. Multiple independent sources identified the same two people. By early Tuesday morning, less than 36 hours after Marisol discovered the footage, investigators had confirmed identities for both the victim and the suspect. And then the case took a turn nobody expected. The victim and suspect knew each other. This was not a random attack, not a stranger abduction, not a serial predator targeting random women. They had a prior relationship. The exact nature of that relationship has not been publicly disclosed by police. Domestic situation, ex-boyfriend, former partner. The details remain sealed. But the confirmation was clear. They knew each other. This completely changed the investigation. What appeared to be a random violent kidnapping was actually a domestic violence situation that escalated to abduction. The suspect knew where to find her. He was likely following her. He saw her run to that house. He chased her down. He took her back. This was about control, about power, about preventing her from getting help. And it almost worked. If she had chosen any other house, if that house didn't have a camera, if Marisol hadn't checked her app the next morning, he would have gotten away with it. Early Tuesday morning, April 23rd, approximately 36 hours after the incident, Hillsboro Police Department executed an arrest warrant. The suspect was taken into custody without incident. Location of arrest has not been publicly disclosed. He was transported to Washington County Jail, booked on charges of kidnapping in the first degree under Oregon Revised Statute 163.2235. First-degree kidnapping in Oregon is a Class A felony. Mandatory minimum sentence of 90 months if convicted, maximum sentence of 20 years. The charge requires proof that the defendant intentionally and unlawfully took another person from one place to another by using physical force or intimidation with intent to interfere substantially with the victim's personal liberty. The doorbell footage provided clear evidence of physical force. The audio provided clear evidence that the victim did not consent. She was screaming for help. She was trying to escape. She was forcibly removed. Open and shut case for prosecutors. The victim was located safe. That's the official statement from Hillsboro Police Department. She was found safe. Where exactly? Not disclosed. When exactly? Not disclosed. What happened between 10:48 p.m. Sunday and early Tuesday morning when the arrest occurred? Not disclosed. Was she held captive that entire time? Was she released before the arrest? Did she escape again? The police statement provides no details, only confirmation. She is safe. She is alive. She is receiving support services. Her name has not been publicly released. The suspect's name has also not been publicly released. Oregon law allows non-disclosure of names in certain domestic violence cases to protect victim privacy. Media outlets requested the information through public records requests. Those requests were denied, citing ongoing investigation and victim safety concerns. As of now, neither name is public. The case proceeds under seal. But let's talk about what this case reveals about a bigger problem. Domestic violence escalation. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. Approximately 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. That's more than 10 million people per year. Domestic violence accounts for 15% of all violent crime in America. And in cases where domestic violence escalates to kidnapping or abduction, the statistics become even more alarming. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports that approximately 90% of non-family abductions are committed by someone known to the victim. Most of these involve current or former intimate partners. The patterns are consistent: stalking behavior, attempts to control, physical violence, escalation when victim tries to leave. This case fits that pattern perfectly. She was trying to escape. She ran to the first door she saw with lights on. She asked strangers for help, and he stopped her. Here's what makes this case different. Technology. That doorbell camera recorded everything. Without it, this is a he said, she said situation. She claims kidnapping. He claims it was consensual. She was upset. He was helping her. They had an argument. She overreacted. These are standard defenses in domestic violence cases. They work surprisingly often because there's no evidence, no witnesses, no proof, just two conflicting stories, and juries struggle with that. But in this case, there's video, crystal clear, high definition, time-stamped, cloud storage, no possibility of tampering. The video shows her knocking on a stranger's door, screaming for help, being forcibly carried away against her will. No defense attorney can argue consent. No jury can ignore that evidence. The video makes the case unwinnable for the defense, which is why arrests in cases with clear video evidence have conviction rates above 90% according to Department of Justice statistics. Let's talk about the technology that made this possible. Doorbell cameras are relatively new. Ring launched the first commercially successful doorbell camera in 2013. Since then, the market has exploded. Ring, Nest, Arlo, Blink, Eufy, dozens of brands. As of 2024, approximately 31% of American households have a doorbell camera installed. That's roughly 40 million homes. These cameras serve multiple purposes. Package theft prevention. That's the primary marketing angle. See who's at your door remotely. Talk to delivery drivers. Catch porch pirates. But increasingly, these cameras capture serious crimes, home invasions, assaults, kidnappings, murder. The footage becomes critical evidence. Law enforcement agencies have increasingly partnered with Ring and other companies. Warrant programs allow police to request footage from cameras in specific areas during specific times. Many departments have public portals where residents can voluntarily upload footage. This has revolutionized investigations. Crimes that would have gone unsolved now have video evidence within hours. But there's a darker side to this technology. Privacy concerns. These cameras record everyone who approaches a home. Neighbors, mail carriers, children playing, people walking dogs, all captured, all stored in cloud databases, all potentially accessible by companies or law enforcement. Ring has faced multiple scandals over employees accessing customer footage without authorization. Hackers have compromised accounts and live-streamed from people's cameras without their knowledge. And there's the question of surveillance creep. If 31% of homes have cameras now, what happens when it's 60%, 80%? Do we want to live in a society where every movement in residential areas is recorded and stored? Where algorithms analyze our behavior? Where law enforcement can retroactively track anyone's movements through their neighborhood by accessing a network of private cameras? These are serious questions. But in cases like Hillsboro, the value is undeniable. That camera saved a life. That camera provided justice. That camera made the difference between a woman disappearing and a suspect being arrested. Marisol, the homeowner, gave an interview to KGW News. She described the moment she saw the footage. "She looked scared," Marisol said. In her voice, you could tell she was frantic, and she needed help. And the way she grabbed onto the door in the video when you see it, that is like not normal. Marisol expressed regret that she didn't hear the woman knocking, that she couldn't help in the moment. But she also recognized that the camera footage led directly to an arrest, without her checking that notification. Without her calling 911, without her providing that video to police, the suspect might never have been caught. She didn't save the woman in real time, but she saved her afterward, by preserving the evidence, by taking action, by making sure this didn't go unpunished. That's the power of technology combined with citizen action, the camera records. But humans have to act. Marisol acted, and that made all the difference. The Hillsboro Police Department released a public statement on Tuesday, April 23rd. "We want to thank the community members who contacted us and provided tips and leads in this investigation. Your assistance was instrumental in identifying both the suspect and victim quickly. The suspect has been arrested and charged with kidnapping. The victim is safe. We want to emphasize that this was not a random attack. The suspect and victim knew each other. There is no ongoing threat to the public." The statement was carefully worded. No names, no details about the relationship, no information about what happened during the hours between the abduction and the arrest. Standard procedure for domestic violence cases. Protect victim privacy. Preserve evidence for trial. Avoid jeopardizing prosecution. The statement accomplished its goals. Reassure the public. Credit community assistance. Confirm the arrest. But questions remain unanswered. What happened after he carried her away from that door? Where did he take her? Was she held somewhere? Was she injured? How did police locate her? Was she rescued or did she escape again? None of these questions have public answers. They may never have public answers. Court records in domestic violence cases are often sealed. Trials may be closed. Victim impact statements are protected. The only people who know the full story are the victim, the suspect, the investigators, and eventually the prosecutors and defense attorneys. The public sees 18 seconds, the beginning, but not the middle, not the end. We know she's safe. We know he's arrested. Everything else is speculation. Let's look at the timeline one more time to understand how fast this was resolved. Sunday, April 21st, 10:48 p.m. Abduction occurs. Sunday, April 21st, 10:50 p.m. Marisol's mother hears knocking, checks door, sees nothing. Monday, April 22nd, 7:30 a.m. Marisol checks camera app, discovers footage. Monday, April 22nd, 7:47 a.m. Marisol calls 911. Monday, April 22nd, 7:52 a.m. Police arrive at residence. Monday, April 22nd, 8:03 a.m. Video transferred to investigators. Monday, April 22nd, afternoon. Police release images publicly. Monday, April 22nd, evening. Video goes viral, tips flood in. Tuesday, April 23rd, early morning. Suspect and victim identified. Tuesday, April 23rd, early morning. Arrest warrant executed. Suspect in custody. Total elapsed time from incident to arrest, approximately 33 hours. In the world of criminal investigations, that's lightning fast. Average time to arrest in kidnapping cases without clear suspect identification is 7 to 10 days, according to FBI data. Cases with video evidence reduce that to 2 to 4 days on average. This case was solved in less than 2 days. That's exceptional. That's what happens when you have clear evidence, community cooperation, and dedicated investigators working around the clock. The case also reveals something about community response to viral content. The video was shared millions of times. But it wasn't just passive sharing. People actively looked at the images. They recognized faces. They provided names. They called police. They followed up. That level of community engagement is unusual. Most viral content generates comments and shares, but no action. This video generated action. Why? Several factors. The footage was disturbing. Clear victim. Clear perpetrator. Clear crime. No ambiguity. People wanted to help. The crime happened locally. Portland metro area residents felt personally affected. This was their community, their neighborhood, their backyard. That creates urgency. The police actively requested help. They made it easy to respond. Tip line, case number, clear instructions. When authorities ask for help and provide mechanisms to help, people respond. The combination of these factors created an unusual situation where social media virality translated directly into investigative results. That doesn't happen often. But when it does, it's remarkably effective. What about the legal outcome? As of now, the case is proceeding through Washington County courts. The suspect has been charged with kidnapping in the first degree. Arraignment likely occurred within 48 hours of arrest. Bail hearing would follow. Given the nature of the charge and the video evidence, bail was likely set high or denied entirely. Flight risk. Danger to victim. Clear evidence of violent behavior. Most judges would not release a defendant in a case like this. Pretrial motions will follow. Defense will request discovery. They'll get copies of the video, police reports, witness statements. They'll file motions to suppress if they can find any procedural errors. They won't find any. The video was legally obtained. Homeowner voluntarily provided it. Chain of custody is clean. No Fourth Amendment issues. No Miranda issues since suspect wasn't questioned before arrest. The case is solid. Defense options are limited. Plea bargain is the most likely outcome. Prosecutors will offer reduced charges in exchange for guilty plea. Avoid trial. Save victim from testifying. Guarantee conviction. Defense will likely accept unless defendant refuses. If it goes to trial, conviction is nearly certain. Juries see video evidence like this and deliberate for less than an hour. The sentencing would depend on defendant's criminal history. First offense might get lower end of range. Prior domestic violence convictions would increase sentence. But realistically, defendant is looking at significant prison time, possibly 8 to 15 years. Oregon doesn't have parole, but does have earned time reduction for good behavior. Actual time served might be 65% to 75% of sentence. Still years behind bars. And what about the victim? Survivor is a better word. She survived. She's receiving support services. Victims of Crime Act funding provides resources for counseling, legal advocacy, temporary housing if needed. Washington County has a domestic violence resource center, crisis hotline, support groups, legal assistance with restraining orders. The survivor will need all of this. Trauma from the kidnapping, trauma from the relationship that led to it, fear of retaliation, anxiety, PTSD. These effects can last years, but resources are available, and she has one advantage many domestic violence survivors don't have. Her abuser is in custody. She doesn't have to look over her shoulder wondering if he's following her. She doesn't have to change her daily routine to avoid him. She doesn't have to file restraining orders that might not be enforced. He's locked up. That provides some measure of safety, some ability to begin healing. It's not perfect, but it's more than many survivors get. This case also raises questions about what we do when we see someone asking for help. Marisol and her mother didn't hear the woman, but what if they had? What's the right response? Opening the door could be dangerous. You don't know who's outside. You don't know if it's a setup. Home invasion crews sometimes use distressed women as bait to get homeowners to open doors. It's a real tactic, so opening the door without knowing what's happening is risky. But not responding could leave someone in danger. What's the solution? Most security experts recommend this. Don't open the door, but respond through the intercom or by calling out through the door. Ask what they need. Assess the situation. Call 911 immediately. Let police handle it. Use your phone to record what you can see. Provide that to police. You can help without putting yourself at risk. That's the balance. In this case, if Marisol had heard the woman and called 911 in real time, police might have arrived before the suspect carried her away. They might have caught him in the act. But might-have-beens don't help anyone. What matters is what actually happened. The camera recorded. Marisol discovered it. She called police. Action was taken. Justice followed. Let's address another question. Why didn't neighbors respond? Someone screaming, "Please help me" at 95 decibels should be audible for blocks. In suburban neighborhoods with houses 30 to 50 feet apart, that sound carries. Someone should have heard. Someone should have called police, but no one did. Or if they did, no other 911 calls from that area at that time have been reported. Why? Urban apathy isn't the right term. This is suburban Oregon. But there's a psychological phenomenon called the bystander effect. When people hear something concerning, they often assume someone else will handle it. They tell themselves it's probably nothing, probably kids, probably TV, probably a domestic argument that's none of their business. And in fairness, people hear things at night all the time that aren't emergencies. Cats fighting sound like children screaming. Teenagers yelling sound like distress calls. Fox vocalizations are genuinely disturbing. Most of the time, when you hear something weird at night, it's not an emergency. But sometimes it is. And that's the problem. How do you know when to act? There's no easy answer. But the default should probably be, if it sounds like someone asking for help, call police. Let them determine if it's real. You don't have to confront anything. You don't have to investigate. Just make the call. In this case, if even one neighbor had called 911 at 10:48 p.m., the response could have been different. Statistics on doorbell camera crime prevention are interesting. According to a 2023 study by Rutgers University, homes with visible security cameras are 300% less likely to be burglarized than homes without cameras. The deterrent effect is real. Criminals see cameras and move to easier targets. But doorbell cameras don't prevent domestic violence. They don't stop someone who knows you from following you. They don't deter crimes of passion or control. What they do is provide evidence afterward. That's valuable, but it's not prevention. True prevention in domestic violence cases requires different interventions: education, resources for victims, consequences for abusers, cultural changes that don't tolerate controlling behavior, legal protections that actually work. Technology can help, but it can't solve the underlying problem. A camera recorded this woman being kidnapped, but it didn't stop the kidnapping. It didn't protect her in that moment. It only provided evidence later. That's better than nothing, but it's not enough. The Hillsboro case also highlights gaps in reporting. The victim apparently didn't report any prior domestic violence, or if she did, those reports haven't been made public. Statistically, domestic violence escalates gradually. It usually doesn't jump straight to kidnapping. There are warning signs, controlling behavior, isolation from friends and family, verbal abuse, financial abuse, physical violence, stalking. Each of these typically occurs before a situation escalates to abduction. But many victims don't report these earlier incidents. They minimize them. They hope things will improve. They fear retaliation. They don't think police will help. They're embarrassed. They still love the person. All of these factors prevent reporting. And without reports, police can't intervene. Prosecutors can't charge. Patterns can't be established. The first time authorities become aware of the situation is when it escalates to a serious crime like this. That's a failure of the system, not because police aren't trying, but because victims aren't empowered or supported enough to report early. That needs to change. Oregon has resources for domestic violence victims. The Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence operates a statewide crisis line, 1-800-799-7233, available 24/7, confidential, free. They provide safety planning, shelter referrals, legal advocacy, counseling referrals. They can help victims develop escape plans. They can coordinate with law enforcement. They have experience with thousands of cases. If you're in a situation where someone is controlling you, following you, threatening you, hurting you, you can call. You should call. The call is free. You don't have to give your name. You can just talk. Get information. Learn your options. That might be the first step towards safety. In the Hillsboro case, we don't know if the victim reached out to these resources before the kidnapping. We don't know if she had tried to leave before. We don't know if this was the first violent incident or the culmination of a long pattern. Those details remain private, but the resources exist, and they're there for anyone who needs them. One more aspect of this case deserves attention: the role of the homeowner. Marisol could have ignored the notification. She could have deleted the video. She could have decided not to get involved. Many people would make that choice. Don't want to deal with police, don't want to be a witness, don't want to testify, don't want the hassle. But Marisol chose differently. She saw something wrong, she acted, she called police, she provided evidence, she gave interviews to help spread awareness, she cooperated fully. That's civic duty. That's what makes communities work. Not everyone has to be a hero confronting criminals, but everyone can do what Marisol did. Pay attention, take action when you see something wrong, cooperate with authorities, provide what help you can. That's not asking too much. That's basic human decency. And in this case, it made the difference between a suspect being arrested and a suspect walking free. The broader lesson from Hillsboro is about awareness. We live in a world where technology records almost everything: security cameras, doorbell cameras, traffic cameras, business surveillance, smartphones, dash cams, body cameras. Everything is recorded, everything is stored, everything can be evidence. That changes the nature of crime. Criminals who understand this adapt. They avoid cameras, they wear masks, they disable systems. But criminals who act impulsively, who act out of anger or need for control, who aren't thinking clearly, they don't adapt. They commit crimes in full view of cameras, and they get caught. This suspect didn't think about the doorbell camera. He was focused on the victim, on stopping her from getting help, on maintaining control. He ran right into frame, grabbed her in clear view. The camera got everything: his face, his actions, the victim's distress, all documented, all preserved, all admissible in court. He's going to prison because he didn't think about the camera. That's the new reality of crime in 2024. You're always being recorded. You're always on camera. If you commit a crime, there's probably video, and video doesn't lie. Final thoughts on this case. A woman was kidnapped. She tried to get help. She rang a stranger's doorbell. She screamed for assistance. No one heard her in time. But technology captured everything. A community responded. Police investigated. A suspect was arrested. The victim survived. Justice is proceeding. The system worked. Not perfectly, not fast enough to prevent the crime, but fast enough to ensure accountability. That's what we can reasonably expect from law enforcement and technology. Not prevention of every crime, but documentation, investigation, prosecution, conviction, consequences. This case will likely end with a guilty plea or conviction. The suspect will go to prison. The victim will rebuild her life, and that doorbell footage will be shown in law enforcement training classes for years as an example of how security cameras solve crimes. 18 seconds of video, millions of views, one arrest, one life saved. That's the story of the Hillsboro kidnapping. If this case affected you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We cover real crime cases where technology and community response make a difference. Drop a comment with your thoughts on doorbell cameras. Do you have one? Would you check the footage if you saw a notification? Would you call police? These questions matter because you might be the next Marisol. You might be the person who has evidence of a crime. What you do with that evidence determines whether justice happens. Share this video with anyone who still thinks doorbell cameras are just for package thieves. They're for much more than that. They're crime-solving tools. They're evidence collection systems. They're the difference between solved and unsolved. Stay aware, stay vigilant, and if you see something, do something. That doorbell camera recorded a kidnapping, but Marisol solved it by taking action. Be like Marisol. That's all we can ask.